Is he still sleeping? I think so. I'm not. I am, however, incredibly tired. It's getting late in the morning. I know that. He likely stayed up to watch television. I could hear it from our bedroom. Only because I couldn't get to sleep. Should we wake him? Don't do that, Aniko, please. No, we should leave him. I doubt he'd want to be woken early in the morning if he didn't get much sleep during the night. Thank you, Lily. Besides, he sounds so peaceful. It'd be a shame to wake him when he's like this. Keep a straight face, Isao. It's nice she cares so much, though. Um, Hanako, could you go to the fridge and fish out what's needed to make lunch? Alright, just the vegetables and rice? That should be enough. We only need something simple, as we can eat in town later. Hanako's footsteps on the carpeted floor can be heard, moving away from the living room. As they do, I feel Lily's hand gently rest on my chest. It takes a titanic effort not to react, but something about her makes me think she knows I'm awake. A long silence passes. The only thought in my mind is of that gentle outstretched hand laying upon my chest. After an indescribable amount of time, Lily withdraws her hand. Good morning, Hasao. Conceding defeat all too easily, I prop myself up and rub my eyes. How'd you know? Your breathing was off. You pay attention to my breathing? You're crazy. While that makes sense, she couldn't have needed that to work it out. Knowing her hearing, she likely knew before laying her hand on me. If you want to sleep more, you really should go to bed earlier. I heard the television going long into the night. Sorry about that. My medication's been interfering with my sleep for a while now. Even if I'm tired, I have trouble actually sleeping. I'm sorry for bringing it up, Isao. I sigh. This is exactly the kind of thing I wish others wouldn't do. Wave her off. Address it. Ooh. I don't know, because I think she would want us to address it, almost. It feels like addressing it is something that she would kind of want to know, but it's very direct and rude, where waving her off is like, no, it's okay, like, it's fine. I'm just gonna wave her off. Hanako could probably use some help. Oh, he's so rude about it. No, that's not what I meant by wave her off. I didn't mean tell her to leave. I meant, like, tell her it was okay. Lily seems to protest for a moment, but eventually acquiesces, nodding before leaving to the kitchen. For a while, I sit and watch television and attempt to wake myself up a little more, but it's futile. I don't have anything better to do, so I follow Lily's lead. As I round the corner, I see Hanako and Lily, backs turned, quietly cutting food on the colored counter. I'm temporarily engrossed as I watch Lily guiding the knife down carefully with the finger on the cabbage she's cutting, each slice delivered closely but with precision. She seems a little slow, but considering that she can't see what she's doing, it's a small wonder that she can cook at all, let alone for both her and Hanako. Hi, Hanako. Lily, want some help? Is that Isao? Ah! Morning, Isao. Oh shit, she cut herself. Lily jerks back in surprise before turning around, her yelp immediately drawing Hanako and me at her side. What's, A small trickle of scarlet falls downward from her pale fingertip, the knife having cut just deep enough to draw blood. With the television sound masking my footsteps, she must not have noticed me coming. To compensate for having to use the touch to guide with everything she does during her cooking, she must have needed to pay extra attention. Lily! Don't worry, Isao, or Hanako. It's just a small wound. You should still get a band-aid on it, at least until it stops bleeding. First aid stuff would be in the bathroom, right? I think so. Will you be okay here, Hanako? I frown at how little heed she's paying to herself as Hanako gives a quick, almost automatic nod. It's fine, I can keep making lunch. An awkward silence reigns as I set the bottle of antiseptic and box of band-aids on the side of the sink, Lily's finger held out for me to treat. The lid of the bottle comes off with a minimum of resistance, and a small ball of cotton that I soak in the liquid stains a pale green. Okay, hold still, this is probably gonna hurt a bit. She gives a small nod as I take hold of her hand to steady it. With all the tenderness I can muster, I gently bring the dampened wad to the small red line. What's wrong? I barely touched it. Sorry. I give a sigh, both at her reaction and to settle my own nerves. Her pain tolerance is startlingly low. I'd tell you to man up, but I can't really do that. As she gives a small giggle, I take advantage of her momentary distraction and gently press the cotton against her finger a few times. Thankfully, it's enough to do the job. We both settle somewhat as I bring the band-aid over the tip of her finger, covering the wound while making sure not to get stuck to her fingernail. There, finished. You can move now. Taking her hand from mine, she gently clasps it on the other. Thank you. It's no problem. It's the least I could do after causing you to hurt yourself, after all. She lowers her hand slightly. Is that the hand? Which hand? Neither hand has a band-aid, bro. Come on, where's the realism? She lowers her hand slightly as an apology, absentmindedly rubbing her hand in what seems to be embarrassment. I really don't mind. Her answer doesn't seem to make much sense, given what happened is pretty clearly my fault. I can't help grimacing at her, despite the fact that her dainty smile still holds. She must not like being reminded of her limitations, and her lack of sight imposes on her. It's something I can't possibly fault her for. I've been prey to the same kind of feelings before, despite my condition not being nearly as ubiquitous in my life. Do you guys ever have tea with not hot water? I never have, but I ran out of tea and I really want some more, so I'm just gonna pour water in here and pray that the tea kind of keeps working. I don't really know how tea works. I've only very recently started making tea, so I don't know the ins and outs. I've always had bottled tea. It's lukewarm, but it tastes fine, so that's fine. Neither of us any the happier. We head back to the various smells of cooking food coming from the kitchen. I lay out the plates of food, steam slowly rising from the well-cooked rice and curry dishes, while Hanako lays out the cutlery. Knife one side, fork on the other, Western. How perfectly fitting for someone like Lily. As we take our seats, taking careful heed of the dark red tablecloth hanging below our knees, Lily emerges from the kitchen. In her hands are 3 glasses and a bottle of wine. As I recall our previous run-in with that devilish elixir, I hide my face in my palm. Alcohol? Seriously? She pauses as she reacts at the table, a playful grin perched on her face. Akira specifically gave permission to take a bottle from her collection. Not only does she give alcohol to minors, she even lets them pilfer their own. The perfect model of a reasonable adult, Akira is not. More to the point, though, is that this is hardly a meal deserving of alcohol. I'm starting to think Lily's the type to easily become hooked on things. That's not really the problem. I don't have any qualms with it, but didn't you have a bad experience with it last time? Last time was likely due to drinking too much, so a single glass shouldn't prove a problem. Think of it as a learning experience. I can't recall many learning experiences that made me feel rotten before putting me to sleep, but I'll take your word for it. She dips the uninjured finger inside to feel the liquid level, tip against the bottom as the liquid rises up. The white of her finger almost seems to glow as sunlight hits it, the delicate outline blurred and refracted by the glass. Her fingers are definitely longer than mine, the kind I'd think more suited to a pianist than a teacher. What? The white of her finger almost seemed to glow when sunlight hits its delicate outline blur refracted again. Her fingers are definitely longer than mine, the kind I think more suited to a pianist than a teacher. What does that have to do with anything? At what point did we mention her being a teacher or a pianist? Like, what? She'd likely have done well if she'd learned how to play. Sure, but that doesn't matter. What the fuck? What do you mean, then a teacher? Why are you comparing her to a teacher? You never even brought that up. We quickly dig into our meal, forks and knives clattering against plates. None of us are particularly eager to speak while eating. Lily altogether too reserved for such a thing, Hanako probably too shy to start a conversation, and I too busy savoring the food. Such a pedestrian activity, eating together at a table. What does that mean? It seems so utterly normal, yet it makes me realize how long it's been since I've done something like this. Okay. Just the 3 of us, sitting around a single table eating as if we were a malformed family. Maybe this trip, as far away from everything as we are, was worth it. It takes quite a long time, but eventually we all finish our surprisingly filling meal. The wine, thankfully, has little effect. We've only had a glass or 2 each. I slump back into my seat, rubbing my stomach contently. I'm stuffed. Lily pats her mouth with a napkin, twice, only twice, and with evenly timed intervals in between. It's hard to tell sometimes whether how she acts is well-trained routine or a well-rehearsed act. I think I must be as well. Did you like it, Hanako? It was nice. Now that we're well fed, shall we be off? Off? Where? You weren't privy to the discussion between Hanako and me earlier. I get the impression that she's having a subtle dig at my sleeping in. We'll be going to the town nearby. I guess I should have expected 2 girls to take a holiday as an excuse to go shopping, no matter where on the planet they may be. I am interested to see more of the north, though, so this can only be a good thing. Sounds good. How long's the walk in, then? It's supposed to be around a mile to a mile and a half. Nearby, huh? Great. Just great. Why did he... what? As we climb up the path surrounded by trees and undergrowth, this is so pretty, and I watch Lily and Hanako walking ahead. The slight breeze all but whisks away the sound of Lily's cane gently tapping on the ground. I notice that Lily's since removed the band-aid now that the bleeding of her finger has stopped. A deep, lung-filling breath of the fresh country air makes me wish all the harder that the air around had been quite so clean. I can't have been half a mile, but I'm already working up a sweat. It isn't a pleasantly cool day, though, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself for it. Hey, Lily, how well do you know this town, anyway? Since I've spent quite a few of my vacations here up until I entered Yamaku, I'd say that I know it fairly well. We used to drive there once a weekend. How I wish Akira was here to drive us now. I quickly take a moment to rub my hands a couple of times, staving off the oddly cold feeling in them. Did you like it up here? I'd say it was nice during winter, but as you can work out, summers get a little too hot for comfort. It's nice and quiet, at least. My family's real house is quite far south. When they left Japan, my parents gave it to Akira and me. Only Akira lives there now, after my moving into Yamaku. Well, quiet certainly describes this place. Though lonely is how I would put it. Other than a prophesized small town, there isn't another soul for miles around. Coming from a home nestled deep within the big city, it's certainly different. I think that if I'd not come to Yamaku, staying out in the country like this would be too much of a change to get used to. After getting accustomed to the school's isolation, though, the idea of living in such a place has become almost inviting. To be somewhere far away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan centers. So, Sal, have you been to Hokkaido before? Nah, I used to live down south, but we never had any field trips or holidays up this far. Well, it's a new experience for you, then. Yeah, it is. I'm surprised how nice it feels here. How about you, Hanako? She shakes her head from side to side. It's my first time, too. As we continue walking, I begin to feel pins and needles in my legs. It's a little disturbing, given there's no reason for it to be happening. Could you hold on a minute? I just need to... Something wrong? Nah, I've got pins and needles and... Ooh, this is bad. My vocal cords suddenly become taut, and my chest tightens instantaneously. I quickly pull my upper arm over it, trying to quell the shot of pain spreading throughout my entire body. Is how? Lily's face only mildly concerned, not knowing the sight which Hanako's recoiling from. I'm fine, just tired. I remove my arm from my chest and force myself to begin walking again. Just a minor heart flutter, so it'll pass like the others. It only takes a couple of steps before my body violently revolts against me, my legs suddenly beginning to give way underneath me, and all the tension in my knees seeming to evaporate. Ooh. Before I can react, they uselessly give way under my weight, leaving me only enough time to brace myself and fall onto all fours. Damn. As I look up to her, I realize my face is still taut with pain, only adding that much more to her worrying. Is how? Hanako, tell me what's going on. Hanako, tell me. Hanako quickly moves to my side as Lily almost panics, having little clues exactly how bad a condition I'm in. While she stands there petrified, I lower my face and take in a deep breath. And come to a realization that makes me endlessly irritated with my stupid self. With all the excitement and my new surroundings, I'd entirely neglected to take my medications last night or even this morning. Did we just die? Okay. I was like, do we just get a bad ending for something? Taking another breath, the acute pain in my chest begins to die down as suddenly as it had arrived. Thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. As it does, I become acutely aware of the sweat now pouring on my face as the two scared girls around me. Isao! I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. I screw up my brow in an effort to lever myself up, Hanako's arms quickly moving to catch me if I fall as I stumble a bit before regaining my balance. I looked at Lily and Hanako with worry written on both their faces. I feel awful, utterly awful. I think we should go back. Realizing the futility of protesting, I look away in frustration. Fine. Whoa. Was that episode 4? I normally stop after 4 episodes, but I really want to know what's going on.